What do you call a bear with no teeth? A gummy bear. Welcome to Sobriety Snippets for Women Over 40, where Snippet Land becomes your home base for honest, alcohol-free conversation and real emotional growth. I'm Becca Jacobson. Welcome to your Monday Snippet. If you're new here in Snippet Land, welcome home, my dear. We keep the home fires burning for women over 40 who sense they're made for more than waking up hungover and promising themselves never again. This is where we do it. And if you're a longtime snippeteer, a snippet lover, call yourself what you will, welcome back. The only thing we don't do here in Snippet Land is cream puffs. So if you're a cream puff, you can just go now. No cream puffs allowed in Snippet Land. What's a cream puff? Oh, well, I think you can probably guess what a cream puff is. We know that personal growth takes a bit of effort. It does. And so we don't fall down and die. We're not cream puffs. That's it. It's that simple. And I know, my dear, you ain't no cream puff. Let's get started. I'm really excited because we are starting today a study. I use that word very lightly, but a study, let's say a look at, an inspiration from the book In Tune with the Infinite, written by Ralph Waldo Trine. And just for a little background, I am a former English professor. 20 years I taught English literature and writing. And so I brought some of those skills over here in my podcasting life. And as a result, now and then, here and there, we do what I call book studies. We go to Becca's bookshelf and we check out some of the best personal development books ever written, and we apply them to our lives. We don't sit and read chapter by chapter together and discuss the book. What I do instead is bring to you books that I believe have in them wisdom that we can use on our particular journey. And let's just take a moment. What is our particular journey? We've already agreed that we're not cream puffs. What I mean is we're willing to stand up and fight to build the best chapter of our lives. We are women who already have done a lot in our lives. We are women who are intelligent, educated, have careers, families, children, grandchildren. We've done a lot, right? So there's no way you're a cream puff. And now you're reaching a point in your life where you're realizing there's just no room for alcohol. You've noticed that you drink when you don't want to, and you begin to realize that you are approaching the last chapter of life, which is not depressing. It's incredibly exciting. I'm talking about the last 3 or 4 decades of life, right? This should be and can be the best chapter of your life. And that is what we're doing here. We're going like, there's just no room for the booze, man. I'm out of patience for this. And we realize also we can't just put down the bottle and then float happily off into the best chapter of our lives not because there's anything wrong with us or you or me or her or them, but because alcohol has played a particular role in our lives and as a result created a problem with how we respond, especially emotionally, to life. So whatever you're using alcohol for, we have to heal that, and we have to learn how to show up in life without it. And for most of us, that means emotional responses. It means emotional maturity, emotional sobriety, if you will. When we use alcohol to calm ourselves, to cope with difficult situations, that means that we have not been doing it ourselves. And we have to learn how. That's all it means. It doesn't mean you're a cream puff because you've been using alcohol. Not at all. Cream puffs are people who want to keep drinking, right? And that's not you, or you wouldn't be here. And so here in Snippet Land, what I love to do is bring you ideas, new ideas. The way we build the best chapter of our lives is by getting new thoughts, new ideas, which create new emotions, which create new actions. Essentially, our thoughts are what drive our entire lives. And if in the space of a short little snippet, I can bring you a new idea that sends inspiration to your heart, my work is done for the day. And that's what I'm here to do. And so the book study, again, using the term lightly, is to bring new ideas. Have you ever thought of this? What about that? But on top of it, it's also to really plant some roots on the ideas that we've already shared together. Essentially, the ideas that I share here in Snippet Land are simple, but not easy. So, for example, if we learn that our emotional response to life is creating some of the problems in our relationships or in the way we show up, it's not easy to change an emotional reaction. And it begins with a new thought and a willingness and a consistency over time. So that's what we do here in the snippets. And today we're going to look at Ralph Waldo Trine's In Tune with the Infinite, which was published in 1897. I know, 1897. And we're going to look at it on Wednesday and on Friday as well. And you're going to love the ideas I've pulled out of this book for you. But for today, let's get ourselves oriented on this book. And why did I choose it? And why do we tend to study books here in this particular vein? So for those of you who've been around a while, you will know that some of the earlier books we've done, one of my favorites, in fact, we've done it twice, we revisited it twice, was Florence Scovel Shinn's The Game of Life and How to Play It. And we affectionately call her Flossie here. She let her friends call her Flossie. I'm assuming we are friends of Flossie's. That book is actually in the same genre as Trine's. And he came before her, of course. So Flossie publishes in 1927. Trine puts his book out in 1897. And both of them belong in what's now called the New Thought movement of the early 20th century, which, by the way, has evolved into what we talk about today as manifesting. Now, we're not going into woo land, don't worry. But you hear a lot these days about manifesting your life or building your life, right? The New Thought movement gave ideas that fed into what you're now seeing on social media as manifestation, I suppose, or creating your life. The New Thought movement really grew in America in the late 1800s and early 1900s. New Thought was not one religion or one organization. And the ideas in Trine's book do not require you to be a member of a religion. You'll notice from the title that he's going to be talking about getting in tune with the infinite or, of course, God. But the New Thought movement was a collection of writers and teachers and thinkers who were interested in the relationship between our inner life and our outer life. That's why we do them here on the snippets, because that, my dear, is what I'm interested in teaching you. The relationship between your inner life and your outer life. What you believe, what you repeatedly think, what you expect, what you give your attention to, and how all of that shapes the way you live. One early root in the New Thought movement was a man named Phineas Quimby, who was working in the mid-1800s and was interested in what was then called mental healing, the connection between our beliefs, our minds, and our well-being. Ralph Waldo Trine came later, and he was not so much a healer as a writer. In Tune with the Infinite became one of those big, beautiful, early New Thought books. He wrote about aligning ourselves with the spirit, training our thoughts, finding peace, and living from deeper inner power. And that's what we do in Snippet Land. I want to repeat that. It's about aligning ourselves with infinite spirit, training our thoughts, finding peace, and living from deeper inner power. An inner power which requires no alcohol to settle the mind and the body. And then later, we get writers that you and I already know, like Flossie Scovel Shinn, whose The Game of Life I have taught here before, as I mentioned. So Trine sits right in that early foundational period, and he is one of the people who helped give this whole way of thinking its language. One of the big differences with Trine is that he wrote it down in plain English and gave step-by-step instructions on how you can begin using your thoughts to shape your life. This comes before any scientific grounding, but guess what, gals? Over a century later, we have a much better evidence for a more grounded version of his core intuition. The thoughts we repeatedly practice influence what we notice, how we feel, the choices we make, and the habits we build. And gals, this is not fluff. So modern cognitive behavioral approaches explicitly work with the relationship between thoughts, emotions, and behavior. Automatic thoughts can shape emotional responses and actions. And cognitive behavioral therapy is an evidence-based approach used for many concerns, including alcohol and drug use. So we see that this new thought from 120 plus years ago is now bearing out scientifically. And of course, we could go deeper, but this is a snippet after all. So I hope that gives you a little orientation on Trine, why we're doing him. And now today, as I look at my little timer and see this could be one of my longer snippets, that's okay. We're going to look at the first 2 chapters. We're not reading the preface. And there's a simple message in these first 2 chapters that really is what I wanted to give you today, in addition to the background that we just had. So the first 2 chapters that we're looking at are called, the first one is The Supreme Fact of the Universe. And then the second one, The Supreme Fact of Human Life. And this is the foundation that he lays to say, look, let's just agree that this is what the universe is like, and let's agree that this is what human life is like. And he lays those down. He says, okay, if we both agree that this is true, then we can move forward in the book and look at how do we make this show up in our lives? How do we use it to our advantage? And so you and I need that foundation as well. So what Trine says about the supreme fact of the universe is simple. It's simple. Here it is. I'm going to give you a quote. The spirit of infinite life and power that is behind all is what I call God. I care not what term you may use, be it kindly light, providence, the oversoul, omnipotence, or whatever term may be most convenient. I care not what the term may be as long as we are agreed in regard to the great central fact itself. God is infinite spirit, which fills all the universe with himself, so that all is from him and in him, and there is nothing that is outside. Indeed, and in truth then, in him we live and move and have our being. He is the life of our life, our very life itself. In essence, the life of God and the life of man are the same, and so are one. They differ not in essence, but only in degree. Okay, that's end quote. What is he saying? My dears, as I said earlier, this has nothing to do with religion. He's simply saying that inside of us, inside of you, inside of me, is the spirit of God or the universe or kindly light, higher self, whatever you want to call it, it's there. And this book is about saying to you, get in tune with that, and you're going to have a much easier go on this planet. I mean, isn't that beautiful? I love this so much. I'm like, I got to share this with the gals. So Trine is asking us to agree, first of all, that God and man, and by the way, we already know that back in the day, man meant all of us. Okay, so we're going to have to let that go. God and man, God and humans, God and us are one and the same. It's just that God has more of it than we do. One of the easiest analogies I've found for understanding that we differ from God, not in quality, but in degree, is when we think about the ocean. The ocean is the ocean. And if I go over there and I take a cup and I scoop up 1 cup of ocean water, the water in that cup is exactly the same as the ocean, right? What's the difference? It's just smaller. It's only a cup of ocean water. Whereas the ocean is, hello, the ocean, right? This metaphor has often been helpful for me. I have inside of me a piece of the universe, the universal source or God, but I'm just a little cup. I'm not the whole ocean, okay? So that's chapter 1. And Trine is saying, if we agree on that, then that's great. We can move forward. And chapter 2, now, the supreme fact of human life. Okay, so if knowing that, then what does this mean? Here's what he says, quote, the great central fact in human life, in your life and in mine, is the coming into a conscious, vital realization of your oneness with this infinite life and the opening of yourself fully to this divine inflow. Bam. That actually is in the title of the book. The book is called In Tune with the Infinite. And he's saying the supreme fact of human life, your life, his life, my life, her life, is to sit down and come into realization of your oneness with God, your oneness with the infinite spirit, whatever you want to call it. And then he repeats, for in the degree that we come into this realization and connect ourselves with this infinite source, Do we make it possible for the higher powers to play, to work, to manifest through us? There's that word, manifest. I don't think he did not mean that word the way we're hearing it show up today. And let's talk about this quote. I'll give it to you again. In the degree that we come into this realization and connect ourselves with this infinite source, do we make it possible for the higher powers to play, to work, to manifest through us? Gals, that's really the work that Trine is setting out for us. He's saying, look, the more that you come into the realization that you're connected to this huge source, the whole ocean, the more you come into realization of that and feel that connection, the more you can work and play and create your life with that guiding you. And that's it. That's what this book is about, and I could not resist it. We're going to get instruction from Trine on how to spend a few minutes each day just allowing this spirit to flow through us, opening up a gateway to allow it to flow through us. Later on in this book, Trine refers to Buddha, he talks about Krishna, he talks about Muhammad, and he says over and over again, this is not about religion. You, me, and every living creature has this this spirit running through us, and we cannot be disconnected from it. When we disconnect, the body just suddenly stops working, doesn't it? And so when we come into a higher realization of our connection and we start working with that, gals, alcohol doesn't stand a chance. And we are then not just striving and struggling to build our best chapters, we're allowing our best chapters to unfold inside of us, through us, with the guidance of the highest source of the universe. And I don't know about you, but I think that's really exciting. So I want you to take a deep breath today. Take a lot of deep breaths every day, but take a deep breath right now and just ask yourself, how does that feel for you? If that's got you even half as excited as I am, then we're in for a real journey. And what I'd like you to do is join me tomorrow on the Sobriety Strolls, my YouTube channel, Sobriety Strolls with Becca, where I'm going to talk a little bit more about these first two chapters to give you a few more ideas around it and lock it in before we do the next piece of this book on Wednesday. So here in Snippet Land, which I affectionately call my work, my body of work, it's not just the snippets. It's also the Sobriety Strolls, which is our videos that I make while walking with my dogs. It's also the beautiful inspiration and strategy that I send you through your inbox, and it's the events that I do, and it's my coaching, it's my mentorship, it's all of that. And so tomorrow I'm publishing a Sobriety Stroll on a walk with my pups, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about this second chapter, the supreme fact of human life, because we want to make sure we're ready for the rest of this book as Trine gives us the actions we can take to bring more peace into our lives and truly build the best chapter and not have to just sit and struggle and fight with alcohol, because it doesn't have to be a struggle or a fight. So go have a look at my YouTube channel at Sobriety Strolls. Come back Wednesday for more. And in the meantime, if you're ready to be supported early in this journey, you can join us in the Fresh Start Experience. This is a small group of women. We meet once a week, and I teach the foundational strategies that will start your alcohol-free life and begin building your best chapter. The link to that is in the show notes. Thanks for popping in. Be sure to come back next time so I can keep your head on straight. Sending you buckets of love.
The modern man is fascinating. He has a standing desk. He takes creatine. He listens to podcasts at 2 times the speed. He owns 3 water bottles, and he follows 6 productivity influencers. Then every weekend, he drinks enough alcohol to tranquilize a rhinoceros. If any of this sounds familiar, I'm Shane Raymer, host of That Sober Guy podcast. We talk performance, we talk purpose, we talk leadership, and we talk about building a better life without alcohol. Because the answer isn't another life hack. It's removing the thing that's holding you back. Search That Sober Guy wherever you get your podcasts.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.